Welcome, everyone. We'll call this meeting of the Humboldt County Association of Governments Board to order. And our first item of business is a roll call.
Chair Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Jones,
Here.
Supervisor Madrone,
Here.
Mayor Burgell,
Here.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Here.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Here.
Councilmember West,
Here.
Councilmember Orr,
Here.
Pack Member Arroyo,
Here.
Pack Member Allstrand.
Here.
All right.
Thank you. And our first item is adjournment of the HCOG Board and reconvening as the Policy Advisory Committee. And at this time, we will take public comment on non-agenda items. Items not on the agenda, if there's any public comment. And I don't see any at this time. So we'll close public comment, and we have a presentation from Megan Bruner with Caltrans on public engagement.
Yeah. I'd like to welcome Megan. Megan's the new public engagement coordinator with District 1, and she's going to introduce a new public engagement portal, but just also know that we may see her in other capacities as she supports public engagement throughout Caltrans projects in District 1.
Yes, hi. Is that loud enough? Okay. My name's Megan Bruner, and I am brand new to Caltrans District 1 Eureka office. I actually have been with Caltrans for the last 15 years down in Sacramento. A little closer? Okay. So I was going to talk with you guys about our new Caltrans engagement portal. It is a new website. And briefly just go over kind of my new position as a community engagement coordinator, the new portal, and 2 new pilot projects that are here in Humboldt County. Just want to acknowledge our Title VI statement about non-discrimination. And my position falls within the Eureka District 1 planning. It's also within the same office as Tasha Allstrand. The position is focusing on equity and engagement to seek that we ensure a direct and meaningful engagement is conducted in underserved communities. And is it not forwarding? It'd be the other direction. No, it died on me. There we go. Okay, so the engagement program out of Caltrans headquarters in Sacramento is based on the Caltrans mission and strategic plan. This chart kind of just shows a little bit of overview on the resources being developed by Caltrans headquarters and also as part of my Eureka office. And we're going to use these resources to assist the various teams and update our processes in doing all of these building out resources on doing better at engagement with the communities. And a few of my new position duties are to kind of compile resources, best practices, what's working here in Eureka or District 1 with the 4 counties, what's working statewide, what's working nationally, internationally, with the newest movement of having equitable engagement, not just showing up and saying we held a meeting, but showing up to really communicate and engage with the communities. Let's see here. Next slide. And then I've got another little slide part there. So again, we're going beyond informing the community about what we're doing. The goal is really to start consulting and involving the public. And this can be a number of different activities in doing that. It's not just about having a public meeting. It can be social media, it can be surveys and open house to actually engage with the community on what's their vision for a project, or what's their vision for one of our longer term plans. Okay. And you can go to the next one. Okay, so this is actually the Caltrans Engagement Portal website. This is the home page. It currently is pretty much just the home page. It is a live website, but it doesn't have any projects on it yet because this is our next year of a pilot phase. I do want to highlight that we do point out on our homepage that at this time, only a select few plans and projects will be listed in this portal. And then, yeah, it's kind of a weird one. And the next one, there you go. So the public facing is, you can look at our engagement portal. You can search by project name, or you can actually search on a map, and the map will eventually pinpoint all of the projects within a region. The public or our other stakeholders can use this to leave comments on a project, participate in surveys, attend virtual meetings. And kind of a neat thing is the website does use Google Translate, and we can change the view by language. And it's not just translating a word or two. If we choose, we can actually have the entire website be Spanish, or be, I think they said like you could do Hindi. It's kind of, we could tailor it to what are the predominant languages in this region. Yep, so then the Caltrans internal features is we are going to be able to host those hybrid meetings. And in that meeting format, people can call in and leave a voicemail, and the technology then will actually transcribe it so that it becomes a public comment of record for that meeting. And it will allow us to build out a contact list of participants. We can also, though, house all of your information as our stakeholders. One thing I'd like to highlight is when we talk about engagement, community engagement, we're not just talking about the public, we're talking about all of our stakeholders. So local, regional, city, government, but also community-based organizations, and just trying to build out a bigger picture of how do we reach out to everybody involved. Yeah, and then some of the goals are just really trying to help focus the purpose of engagement and have it be consistent across all of California for Caltrans purposes of engaging with the public. Next slide. So again, Caltrans headquarters is kind of leading this whole effort with engagement, but then also specifically with this engagement portal website. Around September 2023, a software and service contract was awarded. The company's name is Public Input. They are headquartered in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then in probably about late 2023, all 12 Caltrans districts became involved in the project, started kind of working on what the website will be. And okay, this was a little next one. So we're looking at May of this year to April 2025. We will have 18 projects statewide that are going to be in testing pilot phase so that we can really develop the website and make sure it's functioning as we need it to, and kind of just tweaking it as we can to make it most useful. And yeah, next one. So the two Caltrans projects for District 1, both are in Humboldt. We've got Ferndale Access, which is also just Fernbridge. We saw extensive community engagement during the emergency repairs of the earthquake damage in December 2022. And there was so much success in that public participation that this project kind of helped us win the pilot, because Sacramento headquarters saw how much involvement we have with the community. And so they supported a pilot project. It's supporting it through the next phase, which is project initiation document, when we'll look at viable project alternatives. The goal is that this project will be on this engagement portal website, probably tentatively in August of 2024. And the project manager is Jeff Pimentel. And then the second pilot project it's called Hum 36 Drainage. So it is Humboldt County, starting at 36 at the 101, all the way to just west of Trinity County line. And they found that during project initiation, the team held a hybrid public meeting to engage Hydesville, and they really came out and gave a lot of comments on the complete streets components. So we're just going to continue that engagement and try and build out more about the complete streets elements. But we're also looking at the main part of the project, which is drainage. So it'll be able to have comments and stuff and hold public meetings through the website. And the project manager for that one is Marie Brady. So one thing I would like to point out also is on that pilot projects, Fernbridge is a good example. Although all of this emergency engagement was done before this website, moving forward during the project initiation, when we move to actual viable next steps of project delivery for Fernbridge, everything we've done in project initiation on the website will follow that project. Certain sections might be closed, like we won't any longer be taking questions or survey input on specific concepts, but you'll be able to always go back and see the history. How did the public meetings go? What were the survey results? What did the community want to say about Fernbridge? And then moving further, when there's environmental design, you'll be able to see all of that in the engagement portal website. And when it goes to construction, all of that will follow the project in one place on the website. Again, this is a pilot, so we might have some growing pains over the next year. Once it is fully deployed, we'll probably be looking at slowly bringing on all new projects, because probably in July of 2025, we will have to train all the Caltrans project managers on how to use this site. And so we're going to take a phased approach on how do we and which projects do we put online. But ultimately, all of them will be there. This is our engagement portal address. And as an example, I've added some other state DOTs, MPOs, cities and counties that are using public input. They are the software company. And so those are linked. And it's just kind of give you examples of the potential. We don't have a set design yet, but we might pick and choose some of these different features that everybody else is using. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. It'd be nice to have something where you can follow a project in one place also.
Yeah.
And
a lot of the complaints have been over the years that, you're in project development and somebody has an environmental concern, and we might say, sorry, we're not taking comments about environmental. Come back to us. Well, 2 or 3 years go by and they don't remember to come back, or they miss that small window. So now, even in the plan phase or the project initiation, if somebody has a concern, they can comment and it will be tracked with the project. So.
And I've noticed, and I think all the people on the board have too, the amount of public engagement that you guys have made at Caltrans in the last couple of 3 years. And it's nice to have a place where people can go now and use that and get their voice heard. So
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Supervisor Madrone.
Not so much a question, but a thank you to Caltrans for developing this. And I guess I'm assuming that maybe this will be a proactive approach to developing projects as well. I'm wondering, how would somebody suggest projects to, for instance, the Little River Bridges on Highway 101, which is a complete bottleneck. You either get on the freeway or you go around to Bald Hills and Hoopa, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bottleneck. It's a project that's been in the works for 25 years. Often it seems like it's community members, nonprofits, and others who will initiate projects and come to Caltrans and say, hey, can we do this? Will we see maybe Caltrans initiating projects more, or will it still be those kinds of partnerships that we can bring projects to you to help move them forward?
I think it would still be more partnerships of
Okay.
bringing project ideas to Caltrans.
Uh-huh.
We are trying to look at that engagement portal if there's another layer that we can add where just general ideas can be submitted that don't fall within a specific project already on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say projects, this is also plans. So like our 20-year corridor management plans will be on there also. And then, project initiation as well as kind of all phases of project delivery.
All right.
But
So,
in that sense that, you still would have to probably come to us with ideas.
okay. But you will be going beyond the pilot projects. You'll be developing other projects. Will those come from internal or from the community or both? As you
It probably
develop
would be mostly like the shop list that we currently have,
shop list.
like the funding source.
Mm-hmm.
Tasha, do you know more about how we pick our projects?
Would be most of the projects would be coming from the shop, but as she mentioned, there'd be like planning, like our corridor plans, and those usually cover an entire route. So there's always opportunity during that phase to suggest segments that might need attention or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great.
And if I could add also, I think these last couple years when you have done, your new shop list, you have reached out. We've kind of shared that link because they have a survey that goes through kind of the projects that they thought up, but I think you can also add on there like other ideas. So that might be a good one. We better to make sure that between Tasha and I, we're really publicizing that to all of you, that's just a really good way to get on that shop list. And, it kind of goes through again, the projects I've already cooked up or have an idea about, and you can give comments like, oh, expand it, or, don't forget about this aspect of it as you're planning for it. But you can also, I believe, suggest a whole different project.
And what time of year does that typically happen?
It's biannual around like May to June. So I think we did it this year. So it would be again
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Right, because we just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Now,
Actually,
on that 36 project, I was just thinking about how the Great Redwood Trail is going to be running parallel, but a little bit of ways from Highway 36. And with the complete street stuff in Hydesville and other things, there might be some really neat opportunities for integration between what you're planning on 36 and what the Great Redwood Trail might offer, and interconnectedness, things like that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Arroyo.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. I am curious about, I saw a list of some of the different ways that people can interface and the GIS, component, which is exciting. And I found myself wondering, so I've noticed, because I look at it a lot, because I'm a nerd, I look at the statewide integrated traffic record system a lot, the SWITR's database, and I know that Caltrans is not responsible for maintaining that. CHP is, and it's currently down, but it is such a great data source. And I'm wondering if there's any way that information from that data set can be pulled into the portal, so people can understand where have there been collisions, where have there been instances of collisions with bicycles and pedestrians when it comes to some of these projects, just to understand the context, because I know that factors in highly in how projects get selected or prioritized. But is there a way to make those talk to each other?
I'm not sure, but that is definitely something we can look at, of that kind of connected. The engagement portal does have kind of some layers in the mapping. You can't really see it yet because it's not defined yet without having projects on there. But it would then also kind of show some equity, population statistics, census tract type things, all within the engagement portal. And I think most of that will be on the kind of the Caltrans internal facing. But that would possibly be stuff that we could pull still. Like if you guys wanted something like that, we could look at it. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to interface the two. But yeah, we definitely need to cross-reference it to get ideas. Caltrans safety systems might also do that already.
Because I know in the past, having applied for, some Caltrans grants, it's like you have to, sometimes you're pulling data from Switters for the application. So, that is the place to go to get information about where there have been collisions. And it seems like it's already part of the mix somehow in decision making, but I will keep, I've sent a couple of messages to CHP saying, when will this return? And it's basically like, until further notice, we don't have any information about that, which is such a cool tool. So if there's a way to incorporate that, that would be my feedback.
Okay.
Well, I know that our traffic safety team is always monitoring all the state highway and pulling, like Table C reports to identify collision concentrations. So certainly crossover there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. I would like to also thank you for the transparency and engagement that you have with our citizens. I really appreciate it as well. In our packet, we got a Caltrans milestone report for May 10th, 2024, and it's very detailed, but it certainly could be utilized maybe by citizens through the website that you are initiating. I was wondering if there was any plans to do that, because I find this very interesting. I know that a lot of it has abbreviations and things maybe people wouldn't naturally understand, but it seems like it's a good way to show where the money's going and the projects that are in place and ongoing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so eventually all of those projects will be included in the portal over time. So yeah, if you have that report and want to look up an EA or something, you'd be able to, track that project.
Yeah, I think it would be good, because then you could also, if you need further information on it, you have something to go by that you can say, well, I saw this report on the website and I would like to, and you can indicate what number it is on here, and you have all the information, which I think would be good for any citizen to be able to access.
Yeah, and this is good feedback just already, because we haven't even really developed procedures on how are we going to update these projects after the pilot type. How often do you do it? Monthly? Do you do it as things change? So we definitely need to keep it updated. Currently, we already have certain projects on the Caltrans website, but this is kind of just taking it a step further where all projects are on there. But yeah, this long list, again, I say a phased approach because I'm probably the one in charge of putting all of these on there. So it'll take some time.
Well,
I mean, the other thought is just to have this on there, that this could be accessed in some form.
Okay.
I mean,
Yep.
it's a matter of public record.
Yep.
So I don't see why this couldn't be there. And then, like I said, if people want to then get more information, then they have this as a leap into calling you or connecting with you about a particular project. They have all the numbers, they have all the stats here. I think that's really good for people to know. Just a thought.
Yeah. Thank you.
And with that report, I wanted to add, we developed those reports mainly for this group, but they are available. But if you have any comments or feedback on them, we're always willing to take it to make them more user-friendly. So I think I've said that before, but, anytime, let us know.
okay. Well,
Anything
thank
else?
you. And thank
Yeah.
you for building
Thank you for
that,
having
and
me.
look forward to seeing it as it gets built out, and I'll be checking on it.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, we'll move on from there to the consent calendar. And we have 3 items on there: the approval of the meeting record, the fiscal year 24-25 STA and state of good repair allocations, and the federal fiscal year 24 FTA section 5311 allocations.
Yeah, and I just wanted to note that you received a revised resolution 2410, and that's for the 5311F program. And we just got notice today that Humboldt Transit Authority will be applying for that, so we needed to add them to the list of eligible applicants. So that's the only change on that resolution. So I don't believe it needs to necessarily be pulled from the consent agenda, but I did want to highlight that that was provided to you.
Okay, thank you. And would anybody like to pull anything?
Move approval of consent calendar.
Okay, is there any public comment?
I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Mayor Burgell,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Orr.
Yes.
Do we do the PAC also? Yeah, okay, sorry. PAC member Arroyo,
Yes.
PAC member Allstrand.
Yes.
Thank you for including the HTA request at the last minute.
It was perfect timing.
Thank you all. We have no items removed, so we'll move to our action item, an authorization for the executive director to submit carbon reduction program strategy and program request for regional zero emission fleet transition.
Great. Thank you. Stevie Luther, Associate Regional Planner. And I just wanted to give a brief introduction about the specific project, and then I'll turn it over to Beth to talk more about the carbon reduction program. So we are pursuing the Regional Zero Emission Fleet Transition and Infrastructure Plan. We had met with the Technical Advisory Committee several times, and they expressed interest in better understanding the needed changes for the fleet transition to zero emission, either battery electric or hydrogen vehicles. And I researched similar countywide plans and noted that they ranged in the ballpark figure of $300,000, which seemed reasonable, especially considering the large geographic area of Humboldt County, and also needing to consider a mix of alternative fuels between electric and hydrogen. And there is also interest from not just the county of Humboldt, but jurisdictions as well, like the cities. So we are coordinating with the Redwood Coast Energy Authority and other agencies, and we'll be forming an ad hoc committee to look at the scope of work for that project, and anticipate releasing an RFP in July. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that, and then I'll turn it over to Beth to give a little more context on the carbon reduction program.
Sure. So yeah, the carbon reduction program is one that came out of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And so this is essentially formula funds coming our way. We're not competing for these, but they're just kind of showing up, which is great. There's a good table in your staff report that kind of outlines the timeline. So over the course of 5 years, we'll have about 1.2 million available, and it's to go towards these 3 pillars that the state has outlined as the goals of this program, in which, kind of got them, they had to give this information to the feds, who then, kind of released the money for distribution to these state agencies. So we can do zero emission vehicle projects and infrastructure, active transportation and micromobility, and then rail and transit. So if our projects are fitting within those 3 pillars, they would be acceptable under this program. And we essentially have cycle 1 and 2 available to us now. So as soon as we submit our strategy to the state, we should be able to access up to basically $500,000. So this project that the TAC has requested would be about $300,000 of these dollars that are sort of immediately available, and then it'll take a little bit longer. Well, we're already in 2024, so I'm not sure when they'll release those, but we have the next 3 years of them coming out where we could be bringing projects forward. When we submit to the state, we will have to essentially have a strategy. It's not prescriptive. There's not it's not very well defined what our strategy has to be. So in coordination with the TAC, I think, the thought process is we would do this regional ZEV planning, the zero emission infrastructure planning, and then with the remainder of the money, they could come forward and request essentially implementation projects and use some of these funds maybe to be a match for other grants, things like that, to do some of the infrastructure implementation. They didn't want to rule out that also during that time there may be an important active transportation or transit need that comes up that would want to be open to. Certainly some of the trails planning that's going on, and some of the projects that are moving forward with our regional trails infrastructure, a lot of those are seeing, really big price increases from when they originally projected out. And so this would be a great source that could potentially, fill that gap if there were no other way to do it. So we don't want to close the door on that, but, again, leaving that strategy as open as possible, I think would be acceptable to the state. So that is what the TAC recommended. We would have, essentially, it does require, an 11% match. And for this first regional project, HCOG would be providing that match. It's built into what we put forward in the 24-25 budget. So we've already kind of assumed that we would be doing that. And then individual jurisdictions that would bring projects forward in the future, they would be required to do that match on their own. HCOG wouldn't be doing that. But since this first project is regional in scope, we thought it was appropriate that HCOG could come up with a match and get it going a little faster. So I think that's all I wanted to say about that. The TAC, certainly had good discussions. Stevie did a great job, researching options on that. I think, everyone's looking forward to, having some assistance with their fleet transition planning.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have questions? It's a lot going on there. And while is there any public comment? Don't see any. Oh. No, not yet. No hands up. Okay, well, if we have no questions here, we'll ask for a motion.
So moved, or move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll? Oh,
May I make a comment, Chair Johnson?
yes.
I'm just so grateful that y'all pursued this, and there's such a need for it. And I think I'm also on the RCEA board, so it's important that we triangulate and work together on this planning. And having recently, I hope folks have all taken the county's climate action plan survey. If you have not, it is live right now, and you can evaluate some of the different actions we could take and the greenhouse gas savings associated with each. And transportation is by far and away the largest impact on our greenhouse gases and our carbon in the community. So that is one of the things that was the most effective, was to transition the fleets and transition vehicles and change transportation types. So our work is really, really important to that. But I also wanted to highlight that tool is available, and we'd, on the county's behalf, we'd really love your input. But from HTA's perspective, a lot of these changes are going to be helpful for all of us, and for, microtransit, and there's just so many benefits. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment?
I just want to publicly thank our President Biden for the Infrastructure Act, because this shows exactly what can happen on the federal level, and it comes right down to a little county like Humboldt. So I just want to make that public comment.
Okay. Motion and a second. Can we get a roll call now?
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Mayor Burgell,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar, Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Orr,
Yes.
Pack Member Arroyo,
Yes.
Pack Member Allstrand.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Look forward to getting this rolling there. And our next item is our 2024-25 Unmet Transit Needs Report of Findings. And again, Stevie.
All right. Thank you, Chair Johnson. So this is the annual report of findings for the unmet transit needs. This is done every year in accordance with the Transportation Development Act, which is a quarter of a cent of the general sales tax that comes back to the local jurisdictions. And HCOG is responsible for allocating those funds. So as we usually do, we solicited public testimony. I went to all of your councils and boards and provided a presentation on the state of transit, and we received 73 comments in total this year from the councils, phone calls and emails, as well as an online survey. And that's about average number of comments that we usually get. And those are included in Appendix A in the report. And so then I grouped all those comments together into categories and analyzed them according to what meets the definition of an unmet need according to our adopted criteria. The largest number of comments by far was requesting earlier and later weekday service on the Redwood Transit System. And fortunately, we're able to report that in February, HTA began that new schedule with one earlier and one later run in the morning and evening, which is kind of returning to the pre-COVID schedule, but allowing a lot more people to get to work and get home throughout the day and the week. So that is a large unmet need that has now been met, and we can check that one off our list. And then there are, of course, a lot more, and the other one that is frequently requested is for buses to come more often, especially on the Redwood Transit System, but really on all the systems. And looking at that one, kind of narrowing down that request for just more frequent service, I looked at the route specifically between McKinleyville and Arcata on the Redwood Transit System. And the reason for that is because the comments pointed towards a need to get to McKinleyville more frequently than the current schedule allows. And we also know that the Redwood Transit System currently operates on a half-hour frequency between Eureka and Arcata. And so looking at the McKinleyville route, it only comes every hour. So there's kind of a gap in service there. So looking at that analysis and working with Greg Pratt at HTA, it showed that there were about 183 daily riders on that segment between McKinleyville and Arcata, and that translated to a fare box recovery revenue of 21%, which makes that a need that is reasonable to meet. So the recommendation before the board this evening is to make that finding that a service between McKinleyville and Arcata to an improved half-hour frequency is an unmet need that is reasonable to meet. And I will note also that we want to give the flexibility for HTA to be able to implement that with an express route if that's what they end up being able to do, because they are independently looking at a route that would go from, I think, Fortuna to McKinleyville that would just have less local stops and be a shorter travel time. And that could meet the same goal of being able to improve the frequency throughout the day between McKinleyville and Arcata. And so there's a lot of other data in the report. One of the things I did is provide additional analysis of some performance measures that were based on our transit development plan. So I looked at the operating subsidy per passenger trip and passenger trips per vehicle service hour for several of the commonly requested unmet needs. and that's all summarized in Table 7 of the report. And the other common ones that we receive requests for service are for Sunday service on RTS as well as on ETS, and those ones did not meet the requirements for the minimum fare box ratio to be reasonable to meet. And you can see the data in that showing a fairly high operating subsidy and low passenger trips per service hour. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the report. Thank you.
Thank you. You put it in a very easy to read and digestible format to pick up the information, and I noted hey, we already got this one going right now. So thank you for that. Is there any? Yes, Supervisor Madrone.
Thank you, Stevie, for your report. Just slightly off topic, but as far as feeding that system of Arcata to McKinleyville, as we know, McKinleyville's so sprawled out, it doesn't really qualify for a transit system. But there was some talk about the on-demand system. Has that been implemented, and is that showing any results?
I can go.
I think Beth has some updates.
Yeah, so that was a microtransit program that was planned with the REAP 2.0 grant that we received. Well, that we received an award letter for. And as you can imagine, with the state budget, somehow the money hasn't quite followed the award letter. I did get some, there's some talk at the state level that the REAP 2.0 program is essentially, with the budget revisions, potentially getting cut in half, which would be really detrimental to our projects. But that it's very unclear. It looks like the REAP 2.0, we were in a special batch of that, which was a competitive program, which is a very small portion of the overall program. The MPOs received formula funding in the millions and millions of dollars. So all this to say, we actually, after many months of silence from HCD, just received a contract to sign that would let us get started. Now, I signed it promptly and returned it. I haven't seen it fully executed coming back to me yet, but I am hopeful that we have someone to contact, and we've been in about daily discussions about the revisions we had to make to timelines and things like that, because it's taken so long to get started. All the timelines we put in the application are already gone. But just to say that I'm hopeful that it's still coming. It's not implemented yet, but we're definitely looking forward to hopefully that money arriving and getting to start that program.
Well, that's fantastic, because I think we all know that with it being so sprawled out, in some cases, I think it was designed, the microtransit, to take people from McKinleyville to Arcata. But it may be that they want to go further than that, and it may be all they really need is a ride from 2 miles out to the transit in McKinleyville to hook into the system, which would increase ridership, of that every half hour part that this unmet transportation need is going to kick into. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those things interface. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. PAC member Arroyo.
Thank you. I just wanted to add a little additional context. And then I see that Jerome Curiozzi from HTA is also online. So Jerome, if you need to offer any nuance or clarifications on what I'm about to say, please do. But I also wanted to note that folks, we've expanded our dial-a-ride system, which was formerly just for, folks that had specific qualifying circumstances. We've expanded that to more riders. So while it is more expensive than fixed route transit, it is significantly less expensive than many other forms of transportation, including a cab or Uber type transportation. So that is also within the suite of options. But I wondered if, Jerome, if you wanted to elaborate a little bit on McKinleyville microtransit planning. I know I've seen some new vehicles in the yard, and if there's anything else you wanted to add about that.
Yeah, thank you. I think just that we're currently still in the beta mode of testing out the software that we have that handles all of the trip, scheduling all the trips, and working with our contractor around training drivers. And so right now that's currently the phase we're in. And like was said, we'll be serving McKinleyville as well. And we haven't looked in a while in terms of trips that have been done in that system, how many have been served in the McKinleyville area, but I'm sure some trips have occurred there. yeah, so that's an update in terms of where it's at, and we don't have a finalized sort of open to the general public timeline yet, but I am hoping that that comes soon.
Okay, thank you. And thank you. We did receive an email public comment on this, and I was sent to all the board members, and I believe the PAC members also.
Yes.
And just so you're cognizant of that. And thanks for the public engagement. Any other questions or comments? We'll open it up for public comment, yeah. I don't see any of our usual public commenters on there, so. But that may be why the one was emailed. All right, well, do we have a motion?
Motion to accept and receive the report and to add that half-hour scheduling to the McKinleyville Arcata. Is that what you need?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a
I
motion.
seconded.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Mayor Burgell,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Orr,
Yes.
PAC member Arroyo,
Yes.
PAC member Allstrand.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. And we come now to item C, consultant selection for Humboldt Multimodal and Vibrant Neighborhoods Consultant Procurement.
Great. Thank you. I'll give the staff
Director.
report on this one. Yeah, so we received the fiscal year 23-24 Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program for Sustainable Communities. And we had, titled the project the Humboldt Multimodal and Vibrant Neighborhoods Planning Project. There's several tasks in this grant, and we are going to be doing some of them in-house, but we did go out for proposals on 4 specific activities. And the first one was the level of traffic stress. And this is, again, the looking at the level of stress it is to be a pedestrian or bicyclist on the roadway network. So we'll be looking at that, what kind of bike infrastructure is there, what kind of sidewalk infrastructure is there for pedestrians. And we were asking the consultants to essentially set up and prepare some kind of spatial analysis to go with that and help us understand, how easy it is, how stressful it would be to be a pedestrian and try to get to an essential destination like a grocery store or a school. So there's a lot of kind of GIS interfacing with that kind of requests that we want to be able to add essential destinations, perhaps a park or maybe something we haven't thought of yet but becomes important. And so we wanted to have a good flexibility there. That was something we were looking for. And then we were looking to do outreach. So with this tool, we really want to be able to connect with all of your jurisdictions and the planning staff in your jurisdictions that really are driving land use decisions to help understand, where it would be valuable to prioritize connections, where it might make sense to really look at infill because good connections already exist. So really being able to have that conversation about achieving walkability or bikeability and where we could get a lot of sort of bang for our buck when it comes to driving those infrastructure decisions. And then the other activity was a Safe Routes to School pilot. This is in conjunction with a school in Arcata, the Fuente Nueva School, and they'll be looking at kind of doing a Safe Routes to School pilot project there. And then the last activity was a training series to deliver basically, expert level speakers to our region and kind of have a community dialogue about good planning and kind of these connections between land use and transportation and raise awareness about that. So those were the 4 activities. We had 3 proposers. We did specifically identify in the request for proposals that we could, that firms could propose on all of the activities or a subset of them, and that we could choose, a firm for all of the activities or a subset of them. And based on the proposals we got, we had two very high performing firms, and we've kind of had initial discussions if they would be responsive to essentially what is the RCAA GHD team for activities 1 and 2, which is the level of traffic stress and the planning for sustainable communities, and then turning to the Blue Zones team for the Safe Routes to School pilot and the training series. And so those initial conversations, the firms are agreeable to that kind of distribution. We need to do a little bit of negotiating on cost just because of where they maybe put project management time or something like that. So we'll want to, be working with them to come up to agreeable amounts for each portion. But we did, as a group, as the scoring committee, rank those the highest for those purposes. So that is the recommendation, is to basically begin contracting with those two firms and to move forward with the project. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Looks like an awesome project. And I'm excited that we were able to get our CAA on board and a local firm and still spread some wealth around there. And I look forward to the results from that. Is there any public comment? I don't see any yet. So we don't appear to have any. If there's no comments or questions for Beth, we'll go ask for a motion.
I will move that the PAC to recommend that the Humboldt County Association of Governments Board direct the executive director to enter into contract negotiations with Blue Zones and Redwood Community Action Agency for the Humboldt Multimodal and Vibrant Neighborhoods Planning Project. And maybe you could come up with a good acronym for that. I don't know.
In-house, we're just sticking with vibrant neighborhoods. So that's our truncated version.
Okay, I like it.
Have a motion, second.
I'll second.
So we have a second. Can we get a vote?
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Mayor Burgell,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Orr,
Yes.
PAC member Arroyo,
Yes.
PAC member Allstrand.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for all the education and the information. At this time, by motion, we will reconvene as the HCOG board and approve the PAC recommendations.
I'll so move.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. One more time.
Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Mayor Burgell,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Orr,
Yes.
PAC member Arroyo.
Wait, do I vote on this one?
yeah.
I think I don't.
Okay.
I,
All right.
I always get confused at this point in the agenda, honestly. Thanks, Amy.
Okay, well, we have reconvened and approved the PAC recommendations. We now come to board consent items, which include the application for a Coast Central Credit Union credit card account, keeping our stuff local, and authorization to execute a standard agreement between Humboldt County Service Authority for Freeway Emergencies, or SAFE, and the California Highway Patrol. Does anybody want to pull anything? And is there any public comment? No. Well, we'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve the 2 items. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, this is the last time.
All right. Chair Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Supervisor Madrone,
Yes.
Mayor Burgell,
Yes.
Councilmember Atkins Salazar,
Yes.
Councilmember Jorgensen,
Yes.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Orr.
Yes.
Thank you all. There is no items that were removed from the consent calendar. And we will come to HCOG staff and PAC member reports with our executive director's report.
Thank you. I do have a few updates. The first is you may have noticed if you accessed your agenda packet virtually, it did not appear on a new website like I promised last month. So apologies for that. We've been working with our consultant. There's been some technical difficulties in transferring the website. I was under the overly optimistic illusion that it was a press of a button and it all was like magic. That is not the case, and transferring it's proved to be a little difficult, but we're getting through it. I think we've got a good plan, and hopefully next month you will see the beautiful new website. So it's certainly on the way. A couple other things I'd like to mention is just thanks to any of you. I know Chair Johnson participated in the Studio 6 site visit for the transit marketing. It was a really good time, and it was super fun to show off Humboldt County to folks who hadn't been here before. The team was from Colorado, and although that's a beautiful place, I think we still win. Yeah, great to have them here. They truly enjoyed it. They got some great pictures. We've seen about the first 150 photos. I think we will literally end up with thousands of photos. They refer to them as assets, so we'll have thousands of assets to work with, and more to come on that. But yeah, just thanks so much. It was a very heavy lift. Thanks so much to HCOG and HTA staff for putting it all together. It was, like a week of 12-hour days, pretty much being out there and coordinating with all kinds of community models who participated. So just a lot of fun, a lot of work, but we're really looking forward to seeing the results of that. So thanks for anybody who participated. Then also I want to give some credit to Stevie Luther, our planner. He recently presented at a Caltrans statewide, he was a panelist at a webinar. There were over 300 people attending, and his presentation was about applying for federal grants. We had successfully submitted the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, and Caltrans noticed that and reached out to our team, and Stevie had led that effort. So he took the lead on the panel and was able to describe that. He did a great job on his presentation, and I got to listen in, and there was just tons of engagement after he presented, lots of questions and comments. So I was really super proud and just glad that he was able to do that. So thanks to him on that. And then finally, just a reminder that May is Bike Month. So we are right in the thick of it. May 18th, this weekend at the Jefferson Community Center, is our bike celebration from 11 to 2. Did I get that right? So if anyone wants to come out, we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and it goes great. Usually it's wonderful regardless of the weather. People still come out and we have a good time. So if your calendar's free and you feel like hopping on a bike or walking over or taking the bus over, feel free. So that concludes my updates.
Well, thank you. And I do want to say that I enjoy, and it's easy to navigate the new format for the PDF report it's hot linked. You can, one thing, and you can go through the whole packet instead of sorting through. So I like that. Thank you for the effort.
That's all Amy. So thanks to Amy on that one.
Well, thank you, Amy. All right, Caltrans report.
I do have a couple of updates, but I see that Jeff is on the line, so I'd like to give him the opportunity to go first.
Welcome, Jeff.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to give an update on our Indianola undercrossing project. So as everyone's probably noticed, there hasn't been much activity out there for a little while now. And as you're probably also aware, and I've mentioned before, we're dealing with some very poor conditions out there with very soft soils. So the weather and high groundwater table in that location and all the moisture we've gotten this past winter is in essence the reason why there hasn't been activity out there. It's just been too wet to work. So we are getting and mobilized to start working out there again here real soon. You likely have seen a little bit of activity in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So essentially, next items of work here as we get rolling later this month and early June, we'll be continuing to install the column-supported embankment, all on the northbound detour side, which would be the first location where we saw the big tall drill rig parked, and that would be on the east side of the highway. All of the column-supported embankment columns are installed on that side now, so those are complete. We've now moved into the median to install those columns. The next item will be to continue to install those columns in the median while also concurrently starting to put in place elements for the northbound lane detour. So the plan through the summer will be to get the existing northbound lanes moved to the east where those columns were put. The first item of work would be to put what's called a load transfer platform over the columns. And if I could, I've shared an image before, but do you guys mind if I share my screen really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And just help put a picture to what I'm saying here. So the bottom portion of this image represents our soft soils, and then the columns going through those soils is what we've installed on that east side. So the next step will be to install what you see there is called the load transfer platform. That load transfer platform acts as kind of like a beam in a structure or a home that transfers the loads down to its walls or columns. So that's exactly what that'll do, is transfer the loads from the embankment and the roadway that'll eventually sit above that and put those loads into the columns we've installed. So we'll be beginning to install that load transfer platform, which is kind of a mixture of rock and soil material that will be compacted. That will be placed over those columns. Once we are also able to get that load transfer platform installed, we'll then start placing the embankment on top of that, which you see there in the image as well, on top of that load transfer platform. That embankment will then need to sit approximately a month and a half for its settlement period before we can start paving on top of that. But once we start paving and doing that work, we begin doing the tie-ins from the existing northbound lanes, both on the north and south ends of the intersection of Indianola, to begin routing traffic over to this new detour, with the next step being removing the existing northbound lanes so that we can install additional columns where the existing northbound lanes are, as we have embankment for the structure that will be going through that location as well. In terms of timeline and where we expect to get in terms of production and construction before the end of 2024, because I know that's a question that's come up a lot. By the fall of this year, we plan to have northbound traffic moving on the detour, in the detour location. So that's what we're expecting to reach by the fall. In terms of how much further we get beyond that will really depend on how soon the rainfall starts and how wet of a winter we have. So if our rainfall is pushed out a little bit later into the fall, then that potentially would get us into possibly even getting into some bridge foundation work this year, but that'll really depend on the weather. So everything is on schedule at this point, despite, we've got a lot of comments from the community just with nothing going on. I think there's been a lot of frustration with the reduced speed limits of the 40-mile-an-hour zone and the traffic control out there. But really, our traffic control configuration, we've removed portions of roadway, and there's elements of work that need to occur now that traffic control that's in place allows us to have those work zones for the contractor in place. So we would rarely ever remove that volume of traffic control out when we're going to be through a winter season and not building for 3 to 4 months. Just the cost, and also there's elements of the road that are missing, so we would have to go back and repave portions in order to remove that. So and there are minor activities out there that contractor does still have to do during the winter that require the use of that temporary traffic control as well as the reduced speed signs. related, mostly also due to stormwater management and just keeping the site tidy and in compliance with our permits. So anyway, that's what's coming for Indianola, and I can answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you. It's good to be able to visualize that with the material. Is there any question? Yeah, Supervisor Madrone.
Thanks for that presentation, Jeff. And I know the picture you just showed is just a typical, but did you actually find firm foundation underneath? I thought it was all mud.
Yeah, that's a good note there. That is just a typical image. No, we did not. When we do our geotech investigations, for any bridge and or structure that's going to require a foundation, our hope is that we'll always find some sort of bedrock material that our piles will bear on and provide that bearing strength for the loads above. But in this case, no, we were not able to hit bedrock. So our columns are solely in soft compressible soils. So yeah.
But the idea is that there's so many columns, it spreads the weight around, so to speak.
There is some end bearing that we achieve with the, I believe they're 8-inch diameter columns on the soil, but most of our strength is coming from skin friction from just the contact area that the columns have with the soil, and then the sheer number of them as well, their cumulative addition together in terms of the bearing strength and the ground improvement they provide. So they're being installed on a, I believe, 8 by 8 foot grid. So lots of columns out there to support what we're going to be building.
All right, thank you.
If I remember right, those are 90 feet long too, I think.
Yeah, they go anywhere from 70 to just shy of 100 feet deep, depending on the zone we're putting them in.
Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Right here. Hi.
Yes.
There. Here I am. Hey, so are you, even with the problems that you've had, you're still on schedule to be done in 2027, or is it 2026?
Target is end of 25. So we haven't, in terms of not construction activity being halted in the winter, that was planned for. So we weren't expecting to be having construction activity in the winter. So the time that we were not working out there was accounted for, I guess. So it wasn't an unknown that we encountered.
Great. So yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, yes.
No, thank you. And sorry to not see you there. If that's then anything more from our Caltrans partner.
Yeah, I know there's been interest in projects along State Route 299, so I thought I'd give a couple updates. The work has begun on the Arcata to Blue Lake State Route 299 paving project. The team has finished the crack sealing and dig-outs will begin next week. Electrical work is underway with new lighting being installed in Blue Lake, and we're hoping it will finish this season without delays. We're looking at mid-November. And then the Arcata Merge Improvement Project there at State Route 299 US 101. The work is wrapping up and the crews will be cleaning up soon. There's just one more item needed for the job, and that's on order. And once that's received, they'll return to the job in a few weeks and wrap up completely. So moving along. And then just wanted to say that there was a tribal summit this week in Crescent City with Humboldt and Del Norte counties represented, and it went really well. So that's all I have today.
Are they still working on the Berry Summit rest stop, and it's open? It's ready to, okay, perfect. I will tell some people. Thank you. And HTA report.
I don't have anything this month. Thank you.
How about an RCEA report?
Yeah, I love talking about RCEA. And I also like stepping on Steve's toes about the county stuff. But I really do hope the climate action plan input is something that y'all provide and share with your community members.
Thank you. Any board members? Yes.
Yes, just wanted to report that I know May is Bike Month, but we just squeezed in a bike rodeo in Blue Lake that will be happening on Saturday, June 1st from 12 to 4 in the City Hall parking lot. if anyone's out there in Blue Lake, they'll be doing helmet checks, bike checks, and licensing and other fun activities. And then the only other thing I had was that our next meeting is Arcata High School graduation. I have a grandson graduating at 2:00 that day, so I may or probably will not be here.
Any other?
That's all I have.
Any other board member announcements, projects? No? Well, we are adjourned. Thank you.